So the psoas release is one of my absolute favorite exercises for anyone who has back stuff, hip stuff, knee stuff, shoulder stuff. It's just a really key way to start addressing some of the tension patterns in modern bodies. There are a few subtleties to it though, so I'm going to go through how you can make it really effective for you right now. So the first thing to do when you start it is you want to test where your body's at right now, and you do that just by lying down flat on your mat, and you want to feel underneath your lower back ribs. And there should be some space there, but it should be pretty small. It should be hard to get your hands under. So I'm finding there's more than I would like to see on me right now. You might also find that your ribs are kind of poking out, so it feels like you could almost stick your fingers underneath the lower ends of your rib cage in the front. That's another sign you've got a little bit of tightness happening there. And then you can also check out what's happening with your thighs on the ground. So if they're lifted like that, if they're not touching, then that's probably a psoas related thing too that you want to address. So you want to check all three of those places, really assess before and after. And the reason that's important is because a lot of people don't really feel anything significant during the psoas release. So if you're lying there and you're like, why am I doing this? If you do the test before and you notice a change afterwards, it's really telling and motivating on how powerful an exercise it is. Now that said, you're not always going to get a difference before and after because your body might not be ready to release or able to release on a particular given day. So the test isn't definitive about whether it's helping you, but it is really helpful to see what the physical changes may be from doing the release. The other thing people struggle with is where the bolster should go. And there's no magic to this. You basically want to make sure your shoulders are totally supported, but it's not so low that it's actually sticking your ribs out. So you're going to find a balance in between those places. So I'm going to show you. This is too much bolstering here. So can you see how my ribs are really sticking out there? That is no bueno. So you don't want that. You also don't want the bolster to be so far back that you don't even have any support, that you're kind of lying down with a big pillow. So that's not enough. So you're going for under your shoulder blades. Thinking around armpit level is usually pretty helpful. And then you can put a half dome behind the back of your head. Now you might need more or less bolstering than this. I want you to bolster so that your thighs are on the ground. And if your thighs are already on the ground, just go for 8 or 10 inches. So once you're in position, you can just take a few relaxing breaths. And you might already find or notice that your ribs want to sink down here, and that's awesome. But we're going to turn this into a little bit of a breathing exercise as well. So if you put your hands on your lower rib cage, crossing over the top of your belly, take a few more breaths here. Just notice how your fingers move as you breathe. And for most of us, or for many of us, certainly for me, I notice that my ribs move out, but also that my belly rises up when I breathe, just without paying any kind of, without trying to make myself breathe in any particular way. So what I'd like you to do is, instead of allowing breath to go into your belly, I want you to start thinking about getting breath into your lower back ribs and your lower side ribs. So you can keep your fingers right on your belly. You don't want to feel your belly lift when you're trying to breathe like this. What you're going to do is you're going to breathe into your lower back and side ribs. Think about inflating them, and then you're going to imagine the hand of gravity just squashing you down gently but firmly. You're going to let all that breath go. So it's going to look like this. So it's a pretty fast breath out. And I don't know if you could see how much my rib cage released just from doing those 3 breaths, but it was more release than I got just from lying here. So for me, it's quite an effective technique. I'd recommend trying it a few times and seeing if you feel like it helps you get a release. Once you've done it, you can hang out for a while longer. You can keep with that rib breathing. That's a good thing to practice because most of us are pretty restricted through those areas. And then after 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 2 minutes, you're gonna just wiggle off your bolster and you're gonna check in again to notice maybe less room for your hands, and I definitely notice a difference here. A little bit less of a shelf at my ribs as well. And my hamstrings were already on the ground, so no difference there for me, but maybe you'll notice a difference because the Psoas kind of works at both ends. So that is the Psoas release with a rib breath. That is my new favorite way to do the Psoas release. I love this exercise, and most people could benefit from doing it literally morning and night for at least several weeks and see how that assists you in changing the relationship between your ribs and your pelvis. Because if you're working to drop your ribs from a posture like that to a different, more aligned posture like this one, if you're fighting against your psoas the whole time, you're not going to get the health benefits out of that change that you might be seeking. So you want to allow your ribs to relax, and you can't allow them to relax if your psoas is super tight, if your psoas muscles are super tight. So that psoas release is a go-to. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, if you'd like to have more information, tips, or just general knowledge about movement in your body, I invite you to come and check out my website. It is www.petrafishermovement.com. And I've got lots of stuff on there. You can sign up for my mailing list for even more goodies, and I would love to see you there.